You're listening to the Marginally Geeky Show, the epically geeky book club.
Greetings and welcome to the Marginally Geeky Show. I'm your host for the evening, Eugene Stevens. Tonight we are doing episode 86, Masters of Death by Olivie Blake. Tonight I am joined, there we go, we got a physical copy of it there. Tonight I'm joined by Sean, Jennifer, Chris, and Ray. How's everyone doing?
Other than being sick, not bad.
I'm sorry about that. We've got one on injured reserve, one sick, so... We'll limp along through the episode and see how it goes. So this was Ray's pick, right?
Yep.
All right, Ray.
What did you do?
Why did you pick said book?
So we have a tradition that we go into the bookstore whenever we're down in London, and I was looking around and I saw this. I'm like, what's that? That looks interesting because it's got purple. I'm like, cool. Let me read the back. And I read the back, and the back was really interesting. It's this. There is no game. There is a game that the immortals play. There is only one rule: don't lose. And then I read like this really interesting thing where like this Viola is a struggling real estate agent and a vampire. And I'm like, that's really cool. I like when they bring supernatural into the real world. That's kind of cool. I like that. This other guy, his name is Fox. He's a medium, and he's the godson of death. I'm like, fuck, that sounds cool. Then it goes on about how they have to go into this game that the immortals play, and that they're getting help from a poltergeist, and at the all of the, I'm like, okay, this sounds cool. It sounds like it's something I'd be interested in, and yeah.
Okay, so
I can exchange some more, darling.
I'm really trying.
Let's run around real quick and just do initial impressions. We'll start with you, Ray. So do you end up enjoying the book?
I had to put this thing on as fast as I could listen to it just to finish it.
Okay.
Wow.
So as we talked about offline, you had to what's the term in the Bobberverse? Frame jack. You had to frame jack up to
go to this and
to get through it.
But my reward for I need a reward for finishing this. I listened to the new Bobberverse book as like on standard regular speed because I'm like, I want to soak all of this in as long as that was a struggle.
Fair enough. Chris, what were your initial thoughts?
He's so grumpy about it. He's so mad.
There's potential.
It's worse when it's your pick and you don't like it.
Oh yeah, so much worse. I listened to it. We do have a physical copy. He got super ambitious, like I'm totally gonna read it. I'm like, that's amazing, babe. I would like to, and he didn't because he's the type of person that as soon as he opens up the book at bedtime, just passes right out.
So, fair enough. Yeah.
This is a sleeping pill for him. Any physical book, not just this book. So I listened to it. I liked the premise of it, like the whole idea of it. Wasn't particularly like it didn't keep my attention. I have a problem with books like this that when I'm listening to them, if my mind veers off somewhere else and then I come back and I'm like, oh, what just happened? That's not a good sign.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was fine. But again, I listened to it and I think that was the kicker.
Jen?
I read it. I got it from the library and I was shocked that they got it to me so quickly because the library here can be hit and miss, but I liked it. I don't know. I actually enjoyed the story. There were bits about it that I didn't care for that were confusing, didn't quite make sense. But overall, I thought the story held my attention. It was interesting. Like Ray, I like books where they make the supernatural mundane kind of, and they bring it into the everyday. And so that's the beginning premise. That's what brought me in. But then I actually liked the storyline. for the most part. And I read it physical copy because they had it, the library, but I'm glad I did. I think I mentioned offline because it was one of those books that jumped around a lot and it had a lot of different characters' viewpoints. So I think with those kinds of books, it'd be hard to listen to because they just I need to see it. That's just how my brain works. So anyway, I enjoyed it. I might have been the only one, but
Sean.
This one had it had a major thing going against it when I first started because I just finished listening to 8 back-to-back similar stories. Fred the Vampire Accountant, which are audio dramas. So I had a full cast of characters. The stories were very well put together and all that. But it was like vampires and werewolves and the whole 9 yards. So then jumping into this one, which had a similar cast, but one person reading it with one standard generic European accent for everybody, that drove me nuts. So going into it, I was like, oh man, this has got a lot going against it. So, but give it a chance. But I found the story just so disjointed that it was hard to keep track. There wasn't good enough explanations for a few things that they never cleared up. Like the game itself, they never, it's such a huge part of the book and it's a big open hole in the center of the book. They never cleared up. So no, I would not recommend it. Got my credit back. Yeah.
What was the accent? Was it British or
no? It was a standard European.
Eastern
Europe. Go to any villain in any 1980s movie, and they'd have the same accent. And that goes for both the male and the female characters. I'm jumping ahead to the narration.
Yeah, except for Fox and Vi. Those were the only two that didn't.
Yeah, everyone else sounded identical, which made it really friggin' hard sometimes.
I'm picturing like Nandor from What We Do in the Shadows or something.
Yeah. Kind of.
Maybe not as good as Nandor.
More Euro trash. Turn up the Euro trash a lot on Nandor and maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It was bad. I don't know what was with this narrator, but every female sounded identical and every male pretty much sounded identical with these stupid European accents. So anyway, I jumped ahead, but no, I did not enjoy the book. I did what Ray did too. It is the only time I've ever jacked up.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to it at 2, which I never do. I can't do that, but I was like, I got to get this done. It's just killing me.
Eugene mode.
There is
pretty much.
So much stuff that's already been said that I can't wait to get to already. I enjoyed the book up until the halfway point. I actually did not mind the narrator. I didn't really mind the I didn't mind the voices so much because we begin the first part of the book where we're introducing all these characters, and yes, they do sound a lot alike. But I'm like, okay, it's fine. At least he's saying who's talking and so on and so forth. But we literally get to halfway through the book, and this is when all of the characters meet each other. And there's literally a scene, and it's exactly what you were saying, Sean. It's like just a slight variation on the same thing, and they're talking back and forth, and everyone's being a douchebag, and everyone thinks they're smart and quippy. And I literally just stopped it, and I thought, I don't like this book anymore. I was okay with it up to this point, and then it just hit a brick wall for me halfway through the book. And Sean's right. I literally just finished the last Fred book day before. And yes, it is similar in that it's taking, the fantastical and bringing it into the normal, the realm of being normal. But Fred is upbeat and fast, and you can listen to just the normal audiobook, but But if you can listen to the dramatized version of it, it is so good. It is hard going back to any other book now without having a full cast. It's what we've been talking about. I'm actually thinking about finding other books from this company just so I can check them out, so I can get this full cast.
I was thinking that too.
Like, it's so good. Like, anyway, we'll get there in a minute. But so it did have that going against it, but it was just
really makes it. Sorry, didn't mean
do what now?
But like the narrator can really make or break a book. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. And this is one, and that's, I was going to put that out there. I wonder if the reason why you're the only one that really liked it is because you didn't listen to it.
That's what
I
I'm
really
thinking,
think the narration
as
broke
you're talking, I'm like, yeah, I could see that scene you're talking about being really annoying with the wrong voices. But reading it, I was laughing out loud. I was like, oh, these people are stupid, annoying, but like it's kind of funny when you're actually reading it in front of you. So
see, and it wasn't funny at all. It was just annoying as hell. Ray's shaking his head down there. He's like, yeah, this was annoying.
Like, what part were you laughing at? Because I don't remember any funny bits in the book
there's
at all.
There's like an art piece in it. It was like pictures.
Oh.
I like Gabriel and what's the other one? The two angels.
Oh, the angels were hilarious. Yeah,
the angels. Yeah,
yeah, they were good.
Yeah.
But
see, and if they were played right, like a sassy, ridiculous, the pictures are fucking weird. I don't understand the pictures, but.
See, the angels reminded me of like Ben Affleck and
that's who I thought of too. Like
from
Matt Damon.
Dogma.
Yeah. It was like dog. Yeah,
that's
I can see that.
Well, I've tried to. I was trying to do some better preparation for the books or whatever. So like, I actually looked up. It's a 4.2 out of 5 on Audible, so it has a good rating. I'm just going to run through the synopsis. You kind of started going through it, Ray, but Viola Merrick is a struggling real estate agent and a vampire, but her biggest problem is that the house she needs to sell is haunted. The ghost haunting the house has been murdered, and until he can solve the mystery of how he died, he refuses to move on. Fox DeMora is a medium, and though is also most definitely a shameless fraud, he isn't entirely without his uses, seeing as he's actually the godson of death. Viola seeks out Fox to help her with the ghost infesting the mansion. They become involved on a quest that neither of them expects to be in to help with the unruly poltergeist, and then it brings up the game, as it were. And so I liked the beginning of this book because I think the other part that hit a wall for me was not just the narration and stuff. I was kind of sold on something. I felt like I was sold on one thing and I got something else. Like I was really expecting this to be the majority of it is, okay, how are we going to figure out how he died and dealing with the damn ghost and how we're going to deal with that. And it becomes this more epic world ending thing. And I'm just like, I kind of want to just go back to, can we get the ghost out of the house? Like, there was a big left turn that kind of happened. And anyway, so let's talk about some of the characters. We have Viola. She's a real estate agent and she's a vampire, but she's not like a typical vampire. She's a cat vampire because of where she was bit
or something.
Yeah, something like
Brazilian vampire that eats fetuses.
Yes.
Gross.
Yeah. Blood, but yeah.
So what did y'all think about her? I thought she was an okay character. I'll be honest. She's one of the few characters in this book I honestly didn't think was a douchebag. Like I thought most of the characters in this book were douchebags.
Yeah, I would agree.
But she came out as like the only reason she wanted to get rid of the ghost was to sell the damn house.
Right. Well, but I can get behind that. I mean,
it wasn't to help the ghost.
Oh no, it wasn't to help the ghost.
So that's kind of douchey.
But then again, the ghost is also a douchebag too. Tom is a first class asshole. Like
comes from a long line of assholes.
Exactly. He comes from a long line of assholes. He's the classic rich LA asshole, essentially. And yeah, so like the whole time I was just like, no, I'm rude, even though she's not doing it for, to be a good person necessarily. I'm still rooting for her because I'm just like, dude, you're an asshole. You need to be gone. So
but the way they wrote Tom is it's almost as if he didn't have control. Like there was a few points in there they talk about he had all these feelings that he didn't know where they were coming from. One of which was latching onto the house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he could control it. It was like a poltergeist, literally, that I'm here for some reason. I have to protect this house. I have no idea why.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think, like, yeah, he was an asshole, but I don't think he could control it for that bit. Anyway.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there.
And then we move on to, I guess, technically our other main character, Fox.
Sorry, I just want to say, like, we had this impression of him, but then at the end they out him as being a Democrat, so like he wasn't the worst he could have been.
The left field. That was
that was pretty funny how she just snuck that.
And that was in his ledger. Like, it's pretty bad that your political beliefs are in a ledger too. But,
yeah, no, right.
Whatever.
Then we move on to Fox. He's a medium, and we literally start off the first scene with him being a royal douchebag, but he also came across to me as like not being him, Vi, and Cal. I liked Cal. I thought Cal was fine. Cal was pretty even keel. He was all right. I did think, I'm like you, I thought the angels were kind of funny, but most everyone else was, like I said, kind of a douchebag, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Fox, we literally start off with him, basically, trying to, be a medium and contact this poor woman's dead husband, and then basically just takes her to bed. And even Death is just like, you're being a douchebag. Like, why are you being this way? So
I will say, I thought it was funny that he was playing the medium, but he was just contacting Death and saying, "Hey, can you get this ghost here?" And be like,
"Yeah,
godson." I couldn't even see him. It was like relying on Death's translation.
Yeah, he's relying on Death to translate for him. And I liked that as being a fraud. I thought
that was fun.
So, and I was like, again, at the beginning of this, I was like, oh, okay, this could be really interesting. And that's why I recommended it, because I was listening to other books and I kept like, no, I don't want to listen to this. No, I don't want to listen to this. So the beginning of this, where he's like talking to Death and he's faking it. And I'm visioning that on like a TV series or something. Right. And it's like, okay, that could be really funny. I'm in on that. But like you said before, we got something very different.
Yeah.
I like that Vi went to a Supernatural Anonymous.
Yes.
I like that. That was pretty fun. That was a good way to
more of that.
More of that.
Yeah, once again, the more grounded stuff. Up until we hit the point where it's like, hey, let's go to play the game in this weird alternate universe or whatever, and it's just like, okay, I'm kind of out, but whatever.
Yeah.
Death. I mean, Death isn't in it a lot, but Death just see, if I were Death, I would probably be about the same way. I'd probably just be like, I'm just tired of this shit. Like, seriously, let's just get the job done so I can go home and relax. I really don't want to deal with all this crap.
I liked Death as the character. I thought it was fine.
Let's keep going here. So like I said, I brought up Cal. Cal's a Reaper. I thought Cal was fine. He genuinely seemed like he wanted to try to help, which is why I was like, okay, I kind of like Cal.
I like him.
Volos is just your typical, the Demon King. He's just your typical douchebag. I want to take over the world. Why? Because. Okay. Sure, I guess. So I'm very Bob like that, and that I'm just like, why would anyone want to take over? Like, that sounds like a horrible job.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then here we come to Brant.
I didn't like
stand Brant.
I didn't like it. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like him. I was like, I don't know why you're here. I didn't get it.
Yeah. It was very much the, like, trying to write him to be suave and cool, but it did not come across at all.
No, it was not.
It came across as old man trying too hard.
Yeah, I kind of got that too.
It came across as the author trying to overthink everything that came out of his mouth. And this is deep, and no, it's not. It's stupid.
No.
Yeah.
But wasn't a lot of why he was the way he was because he wasn't able to speak the truth? Like, that was the whole game, was like his truths were taken from him, so he had to speak in riddles and seem really weird and mysterious. I don't know.
Yeah, we find that out at the end.
Yeah. So like I didn't like him the whole book, and then I was like, oh well, I guess he couldn't actually say, like you were saying, Sean, the other guy didn't have control. Like he didn't really have full control over what he was able to do and say. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't the best character. He killed the guy, so like he did a lot of shitty things.
I was already kind of checked out. I didn't even get that at the end. Like I didn't even think about it. I was already so sold on Brant. I'm just like, can y'all just wrap this up? So
I think Brant probably could have been an alright character with that unable to speak the truth if he wasn't such a main character in the story.
Yeah.
After a while, it's like, seriously, fuck off, just shut up, don't say anything.
yes,
But if he only popped in and out a little bit, that might have been a little bit more tolerable.
He kind of ended up being more than I expected in the book.
Oh yeah,
like more of a
right.
big character, and yeah.
This is where I have a problem with the miscommunication trope. Is if it's a little bit of like people misunderstand each other, like that's fine. But if it's like a big chunk of the relationship and like the character that it's just miscommunication constantly, I'm like, okay, this is tired. This is now it's annoying because now I know I'm like just figure it out or just say it like we've been going on for 4 chapters already. Like, come on.
yeah.
I hate the miscommunication trope. I don't like it.
And I think I've never really cared for that. Like a little bit of it's fine, but I also think part of that's my age. I think the older I get, the more I'm just like, listen, y'all sound like stupid 20-year-olds. Just fucking, you like him, he likes you. Can you just like fucking just say it, damn it?
Yep.
So, and then the last 2 I had written down were Myra, Fox's guardian angel, and Isis. Isis seemed like she was trying to be written as being
So
she just, but she came across as a bitch. Like she was just a bitch the whole time to everyone.
Oh yeah. Well, I think also listening. So yeah, I'd really like to get Jen's opinion on this one because
actually, yeah,
the audio version of Isis, it was like, oh my god, just shut up, because they almost gave her like a cat-like quality. And drawing out all her words and all that, and you could almost hear her purring when she talked, but it was so stupid. Reading it, maybe it was better. I don't know.
Like breathy and
she was hung like this, and it was kind of ooh, and you're like,
yes, no, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's not how I read her. That's not how I read her in my head. Like it was sassy, but like funny in a way. And I kind of liked her to a certain point. But then when we got to the game part and we find out like she was fucking married to the Demon King the whole time and she knew all this stuff. It was like, come on, you could have filled people in and not been so coy about, that. So that I thought that was kind of shitty. But otherwise, I liked her character up until that point because I thought she was kind of the comic relief.
Right, yeah. And I thought that was weird. You're right about the drawing words out and being kind of cat-like, because it's like, shouldn't Vati have been like that? Not that I'm advocating for her being like that, but like she was the cat-like character. Shouldn't she have been the one speaking like that? But
no.
When I think demon, I don't think the long drawn out S's and everything else. So yeah. So anyway, let's see here. Favorite part of the book? Any favorite parts of the book in particular?
Once again, I like the angels talking, the back and forth.
And
that little scene at the end with Lucifer and God.
That was kind of funny.
Their punishments. That was pretty good. And the end when they kind of pull the stories together, like giving you the missing pieces. Not all of them, mind you, but some of them, especially with figuring out the stuff with Brant and Death and Tom, the original one, that was pretty well done. They don't really go into the game, which was good because the game was stupid, but their interactions was actually pretty well written. I kind of liked it. That's it. The rest could be burned.
Any other particular parts that anyone really enjoyed? Like I said, I did enjoy the beginning of the book. I liked the initial, I like the initial meeting of a lot of the characters. That opening scene, with Fox. I mean, yeah, it paints him as being, he's kind of a garbage person for doing what he's doing. But on the other hand, it's just like, okay, well, maybe he's going to be redeemed later on. I can deal with this. Fine, whatever. Like I said, I thought the interaction with Tom and Vi was fun. Just him purposely needling her and doing what he could to, being an asshole, but it was still fun that he was doing this because it's like, no, I don't want you to sell this house. I don't want you in this house. Get the hell out of the house. And she's like, nope, this is my job. I'm going to do this. I thought that was fun. I'm like you. I could have seen that as a Netflix or like an HBO, show that would have come across very well. It could have been very well done. It's just when you get to halfway through the book, it for me, it takes a left turn and it kind of falls apart. But,
For me, the part that I liked was whenever was it Cal that was talking for Tom,
translating. Yeah.
Oh yes, that was fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that part, but other than that, it's
That was fun.
Yeah.
Any least favorite part? I'm gonna go ahead and jump in. I've already said it. I'll say it again. The scene where it's literally about halfway through the book, and it's like where all of the characters come together, and maybe it's just because of the way the voice work's done, but it was like hearing just a slightly different, and it's got to partially be the accent because. I mean, I just finished listening. I listened to the last Bobaverse book, and yes, it's one reader, and a lot of the Bobs do sound close, but you can still tell the difference between them. And this is supposed to be a character or multiple characters based off the same guy, and you've got multiple characters done by this character, by this, this reader, and a lot of them are just sound exactly the same. And I was like, who the fuck is speaking at some points?
Yeah.
So, and I think I literally just paused it at one point. I was just like, will you all shut up? Like, just really, you're not being suave. You're not being, cool or anything like that. It's just coming across as we all just shut the fuck up. And like, please just someone say something. What's going on? Going back to what you were saying, Jen, it's like, there were characters that knew stuff. Now, Brant apparently couldn't speak the truth to it or whatever, but like you said, like, Isis knew some of this shit. She could have volunteered at any point. She could have been like, oh, by the way, it's probably my husband and he's being a douchebag again. But do we get any of that? No. It's just like, oh yeah, cool. There's a game. Yeah, let's go do this.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, one more part that I really disliked.
Mm-hmm.
How convenient was it that the bars that were holding Isis could just disappear because they're made of her magic as well? Like, come on. Seriously? They're my magic too, so I can take care. Fuck off.
I just didn't care about the characters. I got bored. It was kind of like so with what you were mentioning with the narration about how the characters sound the same. It was the same thing with listening to Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I got so bored because there was a point I didn't know who was talking. I'm like, I don't care. None of these sounds are distinct enough for me to be like, oh yeah, that's person. Okay, so that person's talking. Oh, I'm getting the conversation now. And it was just like, yeah, I felt bad because it's happened before where I've listened to a book and the narrators just like grated on me and I wound up or the narrator was too precious like Jim Dale. And I didn't wind up liking the book because I couldn't let go of how the narrating it. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't enjoy the story.
Fair enough.
I'd be a meeple.
Go on, Jen.
I think, like Sean said, they didn't explain the game well enough. It was very ambiguous, and we kind of get some impression of what it is when they're playing it and leading up to it, but like it's never explicitly stated. And maybe that's on purpose because they always say the only rule is don't lose, but it's just like a battle of wills. And sometimes people can seem to be able to read their minds and pull up images and sometimes they can't. And it was just very much like, why are they playing this if it's so high stakes and scary, but like they still go back for it? And I don't get it. Yeah.
And it's not so well defined. Like the only thing I could find, I'm like, how are these people winning? Like, it's like, oh, so-and-so one has won the game. And I'm just like, the only thing I can think of is being owned. is this scene from Seinfeld, George Costanza, where he's standing, he's like, aha, like that. It's like someone says something and they get something. It's a I gotcha situation. And I'm just like, so if you sat there and you were just like the type of person that nothing ever like bothered you, like, could you beat death? Like, if you were literally that person, it's just like, yeah. Okay.
It was like taking the person's insecurities or deepest, darkest secrets and using them against them. But then that's so subjective.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like, how do you know what's worse and what will bother them and what won't? Because what's his name? When Tom played against his ex, you know, the mermaid, they seemed like she could have gotten him, but then he figured it out and then he ended up, you know, it's just like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
That drove me nuts, but.
Yeah, not defining the game drove me nuts, since it was such a crucial part of the entire story when they introduced it. I can't forgive her for that. That was just like, no, you got lazy. Fuck off. And I didn't like the interactions like with Fox and Brant, like, because Fox would get so bent out of shape, and it was actually written that he couldn't finish his sentences multiple occasions.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, like, seriously, we're gonna go this route. Like, yeah, we do find out why he's so important to Fox, but still, like, pretty much right up till the end of the book, he can't be coherent with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Brand's already got enough problems with not being able to tell the truth or his truth the whole book. Don't make another character act like a freaking moron the whole book too. But that's what they decided to go with. So,
yep.
Yeah. It was really bad listening to it, Jen. It was horrible. It was so narrated so poorly for those, because he would literally sputter for like every interaction. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And that, you even got the accent right.
Oh no.
Thoughts on the writing? Like I said, part of it is because of the accent that was done by the reader, but it came across to me very Tarantino-like. It was very just like masturbating on the page of look how witty I am. Look how witty this conversation is. And I'm like, this isn't witty. This is not coming across as witty or engaging at all. It's just like, will you shut up and say something of some meaning instead of going back and forth, just like dancing around this. Like I said, go fucking just say, I like this dude and I hope he likes me, but there's a problem. Well, what's the problem? We'll fucking get to it instead of just, this back and forth that never seemed to go anywhere. And then we'd get into the games. And then, like you said, that didn't really seem to go anywhere either. And I don't know. It seemed like she was trying to write on a much higher level than she thinks she is. Or like I said, to me, it came across as she was trying to be wittier than it was. But maybe that's just me.
It's funny. I was listening to it at the same time as Chris, and Chris was way ahead of me. And so I was listening, and I knew I was at one of the interludes. And so when I popped into the car and it came to the interlude, I'm like, oh, okay, it's the interlude. And where I'm listening to it, and it's the part where it's the original Tom's reveal, where it's like the grandfather or whatever. I'm like, oh, cool, okay. It's pretty early on to get this. This is a good little nugget. I find out it's like 3/4 through the book that we find that.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to the beginning of where I was at. I was like, fuck, that's a long way off to find that shit out. So it helped me like keep track of the story, because I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense now as to why this ghost is involved. So that's kind of cool and interesting. But man, you find that out so fucking late. I was like, oh,
yeah.
So that was a helpful thing. Maybe that's the tip. Do that accidentally, then go back.
Accidentally.
I enjoy it.
I kind of enjoyed it.
Well, maybe.
put all the interludes together at the beginning of the book, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, I kind of get why these two guys are being douchebags to each other because they actually like each other, but something's obviously come up. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Otherwise, just like, where are they picking at each other? Like,
that's kind of like a lot of books do that, where they break up the explanation over multiple chapters and they throw it in the middle, or they put the thing that's more relevant. So I don't know. I mean, it's annoying, but like to me, it's like, well, that's just books. You know, they try to make it more interesting by keeping things from you and making the story more
One of the
mysterious.
things that did throw me was like that one of those first interludes when Fox was remembering back. I thought he was with a woman at that point. Mm-hmm. So like the words that were like, will you love me like forever kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Thought that was Fox was with a woman at that point. So like
missing that part.
He was having like, fun with a woman, but I don't think he was serious with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those words were identical to what Brant would say later on, and it turns out that conversation was with Brant, and that pissed me off because I'm like, come on, like, why didn't you have it with Brant at the beginning? Why did it have to be so?
I kind of remember that part now. Yeah, you're right. I think.
Yeah,
because it was his truth was taken away. I guess where maybe I don't know.
Well, that doesn't make any sense for Fox though. So it was like. Did he like because for most of the book, I was like, okay, I figured it was Brant, but like, did he like switch genders at some point when they're away? Like, why?
No,
it didn't make sense.
Yeah,
I don't remember there being a woman other than like the dairy maid that he was screwing with in the farm, and she ran off. Like, I don't know.
Well, the woman at the very beginning of the book.
Well, yeah, but in the interludes though.
In the interludes, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the first interlude or something.
I'm not willing to listen to it again to figure it out.
You have the book right there.
I'm almost positive it was woman because I remember that stupid woman accent from the narrator.
Uh-huh.
Like the very first one where he's having the dream, it's the fool and the thief. But I don't think they defined the genders. That was before when we first figured out that they were together. Kind of
define the genders when you're listening to it.
Well, yeah.
So, and
that's interesting because if that's the case, if it wasn't actually defined and the reader went with a female voice and it necessarily shouldn't have been, that may also be a big issue.
Up the story,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I know it just worked right now.
I started driving erratically. So this is bothering me.
I don't remember any of that. I don't even know where to look.
It was like one of the first flashbacks that Fox has, like right after we meet him, and it's like there's a dream he has every night, and it's him and there's a fool and a thief, and they're talking to each other in the bed, but they don't. In the book, it just says thief, fool. It doesn't say like names or genders or anything. So I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
I don't remember that.
It should be early-ish in the book, but anyway.
I've read
oh, you're right. Yeah, you know what?
Yeah,
you're right. It just says the fool and the thief.
Yeah.
There's no gender back or forth.
Because I had to read that a few times before I kind of copped on that, okay, obviously he's talking about himself, but who's the other person? And then
Yeah.
Like,
I got it that he was talking about himself because I thought it was like the narration, I think, was like Fox's voice. The narrator used it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it just says Fox is human and so he dreams. That night he dreams the same dream and he does every night. And so the scene opens with two lovers. That's all it says.
Yeah.
Does not. Yeah.
So the narrator could have skewed the whole story by doing that.
Yeah.
The wrong voice or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost. No, I'm not interested enough to go check it out.
I learned it. I'm not checking it out.
Yeah.
No, I
still don't remember that part.
That's
okay.
She's erased that from her memory.
I just know,
I already returned it, so I'm not.
Would you listen to or read another book by this author?
So when I peruse Bookstagram, sometimes Olivia Blake comes up, and she's not so much hit or miss, but sometimes people really like her books, but then other people are like, yeah, it was kind of overhyped, or I felt mad about it. So, I think I would. I don't know.
I would look at the narrator.
Yeah. The more we get, the more audiobooks we read, them, and we have our favorite narrators.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
They're just super, super good at it. But then there's the one-offs who are just like, oh, no, ugh,
yeah,
wretched, it's awful.
No
the
offense,
choices,
no
not that
offense.
we could do any better. We're not,
No,
but it's still.
you get like.
I liked her idea. She's got a whole catalog of other books. Some of them are best, like New York Times bestsellers and stuff like that. So she's like up there, and she's popular and stuff. But I mean,
this was one of her first self-published books. Yeah, so I'm assuming she's come a long way.
Yeah, she has one that's called what's in there? No, I looked at her IBM. I can't remember. Anyways, but she does have a series, the Atlas Club or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That looked kind of interesting.
Yeah, but that's too, it's like one of those things like I loved it or it was fine, or I don't know. She seems to be one of those, it's like a personal taste sort of thing. It doesn't seem to be like a wide sweeping, we love this.
All right. Okay. I mean, honestly, it's one of those things. Right now, I would say no. But if someone else was like, no, I read one of her other books, and yeah, it's a lot more defined, or the reader was a lot better, then I mean, the whole reason we're kind of in this group is so that we can recommend stuff to each other. So like, if one of you was like, no, I read another one, it was actually really good, I'd be like, all right, well, cool, I'll give it a shot. So
yeah.
Did reading the book impact your mood? If so, how so? Like I said, at first, yeah, and then I hit a wall halfway through, and it was a drag reading the rest of the book. The whole rest of the time I was just like, all right, let's just keep going. And I had already done Bob before then, so I didn't have that to look forward to. But I did have a Fred. It's funny how some of these books have become just Bob, Fred, whatever. I did have another Fred to go to, so I was just like, all right, keep going. We'll get to Fred. We'll get back on track. So,
I'd say the biggest impact it had on me, and this is totally me projecting onto the book, but I got super annoyed when I realized the ghost had a better love life than I did. Ooh. So, yeah. When the book started and I realized that was the route it was going, I was like, oh, yeah, great. I get to read about another being, not even a person, that has more exciting love life than I do. So there's that.
Sorry, Jen.
Hashtag not bitter.
Hashtag not bitter.
Ow.
Well, you're just coming up with all the stuff. If we named the episodes different thing, besides the title of the book, like it would just been books be books. It's kind of what I tell the boys when they're just like, Luke did something. And I was like, well, cat's gonna cat. I mean, that's all you can say.
Yep.
Let's see here. Any lingering questions? I think we've already covered it. How the fuck do you play the game?
How do you play the game? How do you
maybe
win?
That's the point, though.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that's irritating.
That's why I don't care.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Lost in the Island, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's too complicated to explain it, so I'm not going to explain it.
Yeah.
Fuck it, man. You know what? I don't care enough to know.
I feel like there's like when you play board games, you want the manual to have a little bit of heft, but like there's definitely a problem when the board game manual comes out and it's like a single sheet and you're just like, uh-oh. This leaves a lot of holes that a lot of arguments can happen. Or when you pull it out and it's this thick and you're just like, we're never gonna fucking start. We can never play the game. It's gonna take all night just to read the rules.
You know what? So what kind of pisses me off about it? There are two rules. One is you got to place your hands on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other is don't lose.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Fair enough.
First one's implied.
Yeah. I guess.
So, we've already covered this. Did you enjoy the narrator? Yes or no? I think unanimously it was a no on this one.
No. Sorry,
yeah.
Steve.
Yeah, sorry about that, dude. I almost want to listen to. I wouldn't like get the book. I almost want to find something else that he's read and just do the sample and see if it's the same accent. Because if that's the case, is there a way you can black hole someone on Audible?
He was really familiar.
Nothing.
I think I've listened to other books by him.
Really?
Well, the accent was so generic. Like it could have. Maybe it was another author that did the same thing. Like, let's watch a whole bunch of old Bond movies and like get the accent from that or something. I don't know.
That's hilarious. He's like, oh yeah, this is great. I'll do the next book. Everyone's gonna be this. So
Yeah.
Let's see. What themes, tropes did the book explore do a good job of doing so? Chris, you already brought this up of the whole
the miscommunication. Yeah,
whole miscommunication trope.
It just feels whoa, like the dog is barking and scaring me. This is wicked. Yeah, the miscommunication one. Any book, it pisses me off because it's just like you couldn't have thought of anything else to bring the tension. You just were just misunderstanding. Okay, cool. I hate that. I hate that in life. Anyway.
Oh yes.
You have it in the book, and I'm doing this for entertainment. It's just like throw this. So that's the one I really and the pregnancy trope. Not that it was in here, but I also hate that too as well.
Yeah, like I said, I think I've never been a fan of it either, but definitely the older I get, the more I'm just like, can you just say something? Can someone please at least say something? Like at least someone, even if you're too shy or too scared to say something, surely there's at least one character that can just be like break the ice and be like, hey, here's the deal. But no, there was no one in here. No one in here was like that. Everyone wanted to dance around and play their little games and everything, and it drove me insane.
I read a little review, and it was not. I think it might have been like 1 or 2 stars, and it was just like, this book is about a bunch of people who love each other but are mean to each other.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
The other thing that it kind of seemed to me was the whole. It very much felt like the whole thing of love is the actual love is what's going to solve everything here, and I'm like, not in this case. Like like love can solve a lot of things, but literally we're talking about like the balance of essentially existence for all these people's souls and everything, and I'm just like, really? Because anyway, not a fan. If you could ask the author anything, what would it be? I think we've already covered that.
Why?
I don't even have no.
Just why? Not even a specific why. Just why?
Why Steve?
She doesn't get to pick.
Wow.
She doesn't get it.
Why Steve? No offense. Jeez.
A little offense, though. You feel a little
bit.
You're taking it personally, babe.
Okay, you know what? I do have one question for the author.
Okay.
Why did you promise one book and then switch? It was a bait and switch. It was a bait and switch.
Yeah, like I said, I was fine up until it was like, oh, so this is what we're doing. We're doing the plight of the entire existence hangs into balance. I just want to know how the hell we're going to get the ghost out of the house. That's all. That's what I showed up for.
It's like she started one story, and then all of a sudden she was like, I don't know how to finish this one. So I'm going to put a new story.
But they did get the ghost out of the house.
Yeah. I like how they solved it through a contract. It's $7.
Yeah. The bureaucracy of it all was pretty funny. That like all of the whole plot of the book was like everybody is writing contracts and keeping ledgers. It's so stupid, but like also funny because of course that's how the afterlife is.
That character, I was interested in the guy that like found the loopholes. Like that was cool. Okay, find me more loopholes. Let me just follow that guy around. But,
I got a series for you, Ray.
All right.
Fred, the vampire accountant.
I was just about to say.
I'm not sold on it yet. But
I just finished book 8. Let me just tell you, I can't wait for book 9.
Oh my god. how many
Yeah, we
books
might
are
be
there?
a couple years from that, but
I'm afraid so. But then again, like now he's got. Anyway, we'll get to it in a second. So that is a review of Masters of Death. As we're not going to go back around, but you pretty much see where everyone has fallen on this
Can
book.
I
So
say one more thing?
absolutely.
The artwork in the physical book is pretty. I don't know if the one you
Yes,
got has pretty
it
artwork,
is.
but the
Yeah.
book pictures are nice. So
Okay.
the pictures in the book itself are fucking weird,
Mhm.
but the cover pictures in the front and back when you open it they're pretty. So.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Let's see here. So, next month's book is even though this comes out still. Next month's book is Not Till We Are Lost by Dennis E. Taylor, book 5 in the Bobaverse saga. And then November is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Denneman, which is Joseph's pick. And it sounds like he's thoroughly enjoying it, and I think that might be the next thing I jump into. So I've got a little time. I've already read the next Bobaverse book. I do want to do a second run of it, but I will probably wait till closer till we do the review to do that. Which I'm trying to decide: do I want to kind of jump into Dungeon Crawler, or do I want to hold off on that? It's the spooky season, so part of me is like, oh, let's go back and do some spooky stuff. So I may go back and do some horror books just to get in the spooky mood, and then we'll hit it. So so let's move on to what else we've been reading. Would anyone like to go first?
I'll go.
All right, Chris, what else have you been reading?
I got a list. Just a second.
Nice.
Okay.
I'll be quick. She's pulling it out. Bobaverse. That's the only other one.
Fair enough.
Okay. So there is a really great series that I am reading. I picked it up at a flea market in Kincardine. Oh, well, I don't remember where it was. Anyways, it's the Nicholas Flamel series. It is a middle school series, but it is so good. I read the second book called The Magician. Then I read Masters of Death. Then there's this one called When the Moon Cracked, or When the Moon Hatched. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah H. Parker. It's kind of along the lines of Akotar and the Crescent City stuff. Dragons, fairies, other world. It is very, very info dumpy. Very info dumpy. It's a lot. There's glossaries. There's how to pronounce things and characters. It's math. It's stuff which normally I like, but when you have to flip through 10 pages before you get to start the story because of all the stuff you have to remember, I was flipping back and forth a lot. And then there were also the trigger warnings, which I do understand trigger warnings, but I've been reading romantasy and paranormal and sci-fi romance for so long. I'm just like, oh, I've read all of this. I didn't even know that those were supposed to be trigger warnings.
Can I ask what it lists as a trigger warning? This is kind of interesting to me.
So, oh God, I'll show you after, but like it's things like abduction, and then like a lot of it was implied things, not stated, but implied things like abuse, like domestic abuse, or just
fair enough.
Things like that. But I was like, oh, I just thought that was sort of part and parcel with fantasy and sci-fi paranormal.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was interesting. It was a lot. It's only the first book, I think, of a trilogy. It's I think I just need to know now. I'm just in it. I'm 2 notes. It was a lot. It was 700 pages. And then I read Dark Side of the Moon, which was by one of my favorite romance writers. Her name's Sherilyn Kenyon. And this was one of her Dark Hunter books. It was really good. And then Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. This is her first book. She's in her 60s. This was her first book. It's her debut novel. And it got turned into that series on Apple TV. It is so freaking good. It's one of my favorite books that I've ever read.
Wow.
It was so good. The main female character, Elizabeth Zott, is one of my favorite female characters I've ever read. It was amazing. I loved it. Jen, you should read it.
What is it called?
Lessons in Chemistry. It takes place in the 1960s, sort of. Elizabeth Zott is a very, very, very smart woman, and she tries to get into the chemistry world. That's what she wants to do. She wants to be a chemist. She wants to work in a lab. But because of the time and her gender, she comes up against a lot of obstacles. And what winds up happening is she gets this cooking show called Separate Six, and sort of
They made a TV show about this.
Yeah, with Brie Larson.
Yeah.
With Brie Larson. And this is Bonnie's first novel. She just published it in 2002. And she's in her 60s. She's been a copywriter for 30 years. But it is so freaking good. So good. Yeah.
I just
really
saw previews for the show, but it looked very good. And the plot, I was like, this sounds familiar. So I'll have to check that out.
You do know 2002 was 22 years ago, right?
No, 2022. Sorry.
Oh.
2022. I'm sorry. I got excited because
time is hard.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah. In the before times.
And then I'm listening to the Bobiverse, and it's like comfort food. You know, it's like that grilled cheese or something that you just I need to eat something. It's really good. I'm really, really enjoying it.
Like I said, Bobiverse, I had to go on one-time speed to really just enjoy it. But anyway, that's for next time.
That's going to be a longer show because we won't be able to shut up.
Probably, yes. Jen, what else you been reading?
All right, I pulled up my Goodreads because that's how I'm tracking my books these days.
Good deal.
And apparently all I've been reading the last few months since we talked last is nonfiction, which sounds really lame other than this book. But I listened to The Seed Detective, Uncovering the Secret Histories of Remarkable Vegetables.
You've read that before.
Yeah, maybe I mentioned this in the last one. I don't know, but I couldn't remember if I had mentioned that in the last show. I also read for the podcast, for my other podcast, Sustainably Geeky, Presence Activism, which is about meditation. Maybe I mentioned that I was reading it at the time, but I finished it, and it was kind of weird because it's about presence and meditation and stuff I can't get into. Like, I don't understand it, but I tried my best. And then I read How We Can Win, Race History and Changing the Money Game That's Rigged, which is very insightful, quick, easy read, but also like just a lot. It was actually, she put it in ways that made a lot of sense and things that I already know, but it's good to have kind of that refresher crash course and some of that stuff because it gives you the vocabulary to make the arguments. And of course I read this book, and then I just checked out from the library the biography of Lee Miller because I watched the movie about her. Came out recently with Kate Winslet, and it was very good. So I wanted to delve into her life more. So she was a World War II correspondent, a photojournalist for Vogue, and she was also before that a model and really big into the art world. But the movie was really good because it goes into her work during World War II, breaking barriers and being a woman in that field and getting to go into places that nobody else could. And sad, obviously, but interesting lady. So that's what I'm reading now.
Interesting. Sean, what else you been reading?
Well, I did the Fred the Vampire Accountant series, so I had 8 books for that. And then it really did not set up this particular book very well after doing 8 books of that. But I did the audio drama for it, which normally I don't do because like when we did the Expeditionary Force and it had that one audio drama in between, I hated that. It sucked. It compared to the rest, it was just stupid. So, but then you had recommended like try it out because you had read the first book just as a normal one and then did the audio drama and liked it. So I did all of them as an audio drama, and it's comfort food. I could listen to that over and over and over again. It was so good. And now I can't wait for like book 9, even though book 8 just came out.
Yeah.
We just kind of lucked out on that one. And I started listening to the 5th Bobiverse today, actually. And I only got like 5 minutes into it. I'm like, I got time. I think I'm going to go back and just re-listen to all of them.
Good deal.
And then do the 5th one. So, because they're actually like, I just did 8 books that were like 8 to 10 hours each in a month. So, you know, I could do 5 books that are only like 8 to 9 hours each. I should be able to find time. But yeah, that's about it right now, I think.
Yeah, yours is very much the same thing I did. So yeah, that last book series that series that I was reading that I recommended to you, the spells and sorcery one with the 4, and then the author does this book series as well. And I thought, oh, I'm just gonna give it a shot. And it is very much it's like I said, I read the first one, or I listened to the first one, it was just read, and I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. And then I was like, oh, there you have the audio, drama version. And I just fallen in love with it because it's a full cast. You start to love the voices for all the characters, but it's very much, it's high stakes, but it's not, because you're never afraid. Fred's not going to die. He's the main character.
Yeah.
His friends are not going to die. It's not high stakes in that way. But you're like, it's more so, okay, how is Fred going to get out of this one? And sometimes some of the later books, it does come down to like a brute force type thing. But most of the time, it's figuring out something. It's using your brain. It's using your wits. And because he's very much that, like, even though he's a vampire, he's a very weak vampire as is. But they keep bringing out more information on the story. And every new character they bring in, unlike this last book we just read, I end up liking. I'm like, okay, she was kind of odd, but I kind of like her because Fred kind of likes her. And they'll bring them back and be like, oh no, like, this is fine. This is okay. It's just, it is a fun, whimsical series. I think Ray's going to like it. Chris, you're going to eat it with a spoon. Like, it is right up your alley.
Okay.
So
if I hate it, it's your fault.
All you do the first one. If you don't like it, it's literally just more of the same over and over again. It's very much Expeditionary Force in that vein, but it is continuing. Whereas Expeditionary Force did kind of seem like it was hitting the same groove over and over again, especially when you got up to like book 8, 9, 10. Like book 8, they veered off and did something else, and it's just like, oh, okay, so are we going down this path now? But he's a vampire. He's an accountant. It's a fun series.
Okay.
And each of the books is like 3 different stories within the book. Like, it's
very
not
much
one long continuous one. There's like little stories.
Yeah. I've noticed that the latter ones tend to flow together better. The first ones were more just kind of smaller vignettes, but yeah, the latter ones are like kind of setting up something. But you're right, it's 3 separate stories within that same book, so it is a lot of fun. So,
what's it called?
Fred the Vampire Accountant.
Fred the Vampire Accountant. Okay.
Yes. So
cool.
And at least the U.S. version, the first 7 books are free. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I had to pay for the last one and gladly did. Like, it was like, oh, you have to pay for this one. I'm like, okay. Didn't bat an eye. I was like, no, I got to find out what happens. So, which is an interesting thing. I'd love to talk to someone at Audible and find out how that negotiation goes as to what they're putting on free and what they're not. Because I'll be honest with you, if they pull this off from being free, I wouldn't probably buy it all instantly. I wouldn't have enough, credits to do it unless they put it on sale or something. But I would definitely go back and be like, oh no, I have to keep this in my book collection. So, but
yes,
okay. It's worth it.
Yeah, usually they'll make like the first 1 or 2 free to reel you in, and then start charging you because you want to know. But 7 free is a lot. 7
free was a lot, and
now. These have been out since the first one was out in 2014. So it's not like they've been bam, 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 bam. Like, it's been over time. So they've probably been kicking around enough.
But anyway, so that is our show for the month, ladies and gentlemen. If you would, please give us a 5-star rating where it is you listen or watch the show, whether it be YouTube or anywhere you can find audio podcast. You can watch the video version of the show on YouTube as well. You can find all the shows that we do at epicallygeeky.com, including the Epically Geeky Show, Creatively Geeky Show, and Sustainably Geeky Show. We do post when new episodes come out on Instagram and Facebook, where you can find us on social media. Where can we find you online, Ray?
The Reluctant Yeti on Instagram.
Chris?
Moody Midlife on Instagram.
Jen?
It's gonna be me on Instagram, Twitter, and also hosting Sustainably Geeky, the podcast for the everyday environmentalist.
Actually, if I can get this edited, it should her newest episode should come out same day as this one. So go check it out. So, Sean?
Screwing on Wikipedia for all those college and university students. Beware. Do your own fucking research. And your favorite broken toy, I spelled the Canadian way, on both Instagram and TikTok.
And as always, you can find my individual wacky adventure online at Optimachine on Facebook and Instagram. For everyone on the site, have a good night.